Okay, so I wanted to talk about how to tell the difference between a counterphobic 6 and an 8. Because, people still get this wrong, and it's possible to tell the difference. I think that people grasp at straws a lot with this one, and unfortunately, people mistype themselves as an 8 when they're a counterphobic 6, and it just happens. They keep doing it, and they can be in denial. Now, let's take a common example from the media. Vladimir Putin. Okay, he's a type 6. And some people mistype him as an 8, but he's a 6. And the 6s have a different energy to them. They can be aggressive, but these are head types, and there is a different kind of tension in the eyes and in the face in general. The 8s are generally stoic people. They tend to have a good poker face. You don't find a great deal of emotional changes in the face. If you watch me when I talk, it's pretty much flat. The 8s are gut types. They're more focused on action. There's not as much up in the head activity going on. There's a much stronger sense of grounding in action itself. So with the 6s, look for certain things that I've never seen an 8 do, that I don't see in 8s and simply do not happen in 8s. Their eyebrows are much more subject to change, that they raise their eyes like this, and you have the puzzlement of the type, and they have a questioning quality to them often. With the counterphobics, of course, they're constantly fighting against it, but they don't have the stoic, grounded quality of the 8, the stony quality. And it's just a simple sort of physics of the types, kind of the biology of the types. I know there's a lot of focus on, type being something profound and something deep, and it is. It is, but the result of that is that people can mistype themselves because they type based on superficial characteristics. And many 6s would mistype themselves as 8s without actually being a type 8 because they're aggressive and they're counterphobic, often a sexual 6, and they don't have the earthy, physical, expansive quality. If you meet an 8 in person, it's often more obvious, but they have a kind of physically boundaried, expansive quality to them, and it shows in the face more. Without having to talk about body energies, I think you can read it in the face that the 8s, they always have a good poker face, pretty much always, and they're pretty much always stoic. The gut types in general tend to be more like this. They focus on action, the body, impulses, boundaries, solidity, and when they're talking, when they're connecting with you, there is not the same, stuff like this going on, and they don't get certain expressions. I know it sounds superficial or whatever to you, but genuinely, these are patterns that I personally have noticed that I tend to follow, and you don't have to follow them. You can do what you want to do, right? It's just me sharing with you what genuinely seems to be true and what people need to hear. So with the 8s, look for stoicism, look for something that is rock-like, and they simply aren't as expressive of people, generally, as the head types. The head types, there's more activity going on up here. They're called head types for a reason. They actually did track this to different places in the body. And the gut types, you get a feeling in your stomach, a gut intuition, that's real. That's a real thing. That's based on a genuine phenomenon. The eights have bigger appetites. They're known for their appetites and their physical quality. And if you're an eight, I think you feel that gut impulse and intuition, and it's real. So that's something to look for. That's one way. People would always ask, how do I know? How do I tell with people? You can tell. You can tell with the sixes. It's subtle. If you can't tell by the overall personality, you should be able to tell based on reading them and their facial expressions. And the sixes have very much more of this kind of almost like they're thinking about stuff, and this is during general normal interactions. This isn't even during particularly intense times. With the sexual six, they have more of a intentionally aggressive style. And often that's why they mistype themselves as an eight, because they think, well, no, I'm an eight, I'm this, I'm that, I'm aggressive, I'm a fighter, and they are more feistier, and you can sort of see them walking down the street with kind of a tough vibe to them. And it's just different from the eight. Once you learn to recognize it, it becomes more obvious, and you'll start to see that it's not just about what somebody identifies with. It's a general energetic quality in the person, and it's possible to mistype. Anybody could mistype. I mistyped as a 5. I thought I was 5 because I am smart or something. So anyway, I hope it helps, because it's, in my experience, it's very true. So look for a different facial expression, a stoicism, a poker face. Eights are harder to read, and there's not as much give there. You almost feel like you're pushing something that won't move. There's a stubbornness of the gut types, whereas with the head types, there's a little bit more of a reactivity of kind of responding to people and, oh my gosh, I can't believe you think that. And there's more of a human quality to them. They're more relatable and often more likable too, in a general way. So it's not a gift or a blessing to be an 8. I think that a lot of people do gatekeeping on the 8 because they've glorified the 8 and they think it's a privilege. But talk to an 8. We're people like anybody else. I've suffered extreme depression. I've had difficulties in life. I've had to work. I've struggled. I mean, we are just like anybody else. And it's not something special. It's just another type of person. But it is important to get it right, because people are different. The types are different. And mistypings do happen. Okay, thank you. Good luck.